For the past several months, direct military strikes between the United States and Iran threw the Middle East into chaos and sent a shockwave of panic around the world. You likely felt the physical impact of that conflict at the pump. The fighting severely disrupted global energy markets, sending oil prices spiking and drastically inflating the cost of everyday goods across the entire supply chain. Then, on June 19, 2026, the shooting stopped. Without holding direct talks, Washington and Tehran relied on secret back-channel diplomacy facilitated by Qatar and Pakistan to reach a sudden ceasefire. In Geneva, negotiators signed a 14-point Memorandum of Understanding, a temporary framework that grants the world exactly 60 days to reach a final settlement. Do you think decades of deeply rooted nuclear tension can actually be resolved in a 2-month window? Drop a comment below with your prediction for what happens on day 61. If negotiators fail to execute every single point on this 14-point ledger before the clock runs out, the fragile agreement collapses. That means a rapid return to all-out war, alongside a severe hit to the global economy. The first rule of the agreement is an immediate, permanent end to direct military actions. That explicitly requires proxy battlefronts, like the ongoing fighting in Lebanon, to stand down completely. The United States is required to make the first major physical concession by completely lifting its naval blockade on Iranian ports within 30 days. In return, Iran has committed to reopening the Strait of Hormuz to international shipping within that exact same 30-day window. This map shows the Strait of Hormuz, the primary choke point for the global energy market. Before the conflict, roughly 1/5 of the world's total oil and liquefied natural gas traveled through this narrow corridor. Resuming that massive flow of traffic takes time. Crews have to clear active sea mines and repair damaged port infrastructure before anything resembling normal shipping volumes can safely return. The first month of this agreement relies entirely on mechanical logistics. Both sides are scrambling to reopen these global economic arteries before the financial strain breaks their own domestic markets. The second month shifts focus to the phased unfreezing of $24 billion in blocked Iranian assets. The U.S. releases $12 billion immediately before negotiations begin, with the remaining $12 billion distributed throughout the 60-day period. Because the two nations lack direct banking relations, these massive asset transfers rely heavily on financial institutions in Qatar to ensure diplomatic compliance. Beyond the cash transfers, there are massive economic incentives on the table. These include the suspension of U.S. sanctions on Iranian oil, and a proposed reconstruction plan backed by Washington and its allies, totaling at least $300 billion. To secure those funds, both sides must meet strict military demands. The U.S. must commit to withdrawing regional forces, while Iran reaffirms its non-proliferation commitments and disposes of its highly enriched uranium. The entire framework operates with zero margin for error. If Washington delays a single fund transfer, or if Tehran obscures a single uranium stockpile, the entire 14-point structure shatters. Ultimately, negotiators must transform this temporary understanding into a final, binding agreement, ratified by a UN Security Council resolution by day 61. That requires navigating fierce domestic politics. In Washington, President Trump faces serious pressure from hardliners, who argue this arrangement surrenders too much American leverage for too little gain. In Tehran, President Pezeshkian is dealing with his own internal factions demanding he abandon the negotiations, viewing the entire framework as an American trap. Despite those massive political hurdles, the immediate reaction from the global economy has been relief. International markets surged in Tokyo, and European nations are already preparing to lift their own sanctions. This 60-day window has immediate consequences for households far beyond the Middle East. By reopening shipping routes for essential energy and fertilizer, these negotiations help determine the future of global food prices and your local cost of living. The question is whether a 14-point checklist can actually dismantle decades of deep-seated animosity, or if this 60-day window is simply a tactical pause, giving both militaries a chance to reload. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss our updates as we track this 60-day countdown. Thanks for watching.